Good morning, folks. This is your Chapter 7, or should I say Module 7 lecture. I took a look over the material last evening and I decided that not only am I going to teach you this lecture in video format, but I will also be recording Module 8 as well. There's just not enough time for us to get through all of the material that we need to get through after we return from break, so I wanted to make sure that we do get through everything and that you're equipped to take your exam. So we're going to start here with Module 7. If you're following along in your book, I'm on page 171. And this chapter is all about working with media, specifically talking about audio suite in this chapter. And we're also going to talk about some other management techniques within Pro Tools, kind of building upon the things that we learned in Chapter 5 of 101. So on page 172, your book starts off by talking about color coding. And you're probably already familiar with the fact that Pro Tools assigns color coding to tracks. And you can see this quite clearly over here. Looks like I've got a blue color for my audio track, purple for MIDI, and down here for my aux track, I have a green color. You can change these colors at your leisure, but you can also have Pro Tools use different default schemes for color coding tracks. And this can become very important when it comes to having a larger session and having to organize things in ways that make it easier to see visually. So let me show you how to do the manual color assignment first, and your book starts off with that. Basically, if you want to change the color of a track, you select the track, you go up to the window menu, and you go to Color Palette. And the Color Palette window appears, allowing you to specifically change the color of tracks or clips on tracks. So if I go to the track selector, you'll notice how I now have the ability to change the color, and it's probably not easy to see, so let me move this over. As I'm changing these colors, the audio track is then changing color as well. So you can also adjust the brightness of the tracks. You can adjust the saturation, the color if you choose. You can even have some, looks like opaqueness to the comments area and all of the other different types of views in the edit window. Some people like to work this way. I've seen it many times. It's kind of cool. The other way that you can change color instead of using this manual scheme is to go into the preferences. If you go under Setup, Preferences, Display, you'll see you're confronted here at the very beginning with the color coding section. And this allows you to change not only the default color coding for tracks, but also for clips. So as you can see right now, the default setting is track type, which is very useful because if you're working with large amounts of tracks and varying tracks in your session, having different colors associated with those track types can help keep things straight for you. However, there are some other options here. Obviously, none turns everything off. Your tracks and MIDI channels, this allows you to basically assign a color to each track based on its MIDI channel assignment or even its voice assignment. Now, we didn't really talk about voice assignments much, but basically every time you create, for example, an audio track, it allocates a voice to that track. So in other words, if you select this option, every single audio track in your session, unless it shares voices, which is only an HD option, would have a completely different color. So every track would be a different color, and MIDI tracks would only share the same color if they are going to the same MIDI output. Tracks and MIDI devices, very similar in that it basically assigns each track based off of the MIDI device, not necessarily the MIDI channel. And then your groups, basically allowing you to group tracks based by color as well. Every time you add tracks to a new group, they are given a new color based on that unique ID. So there's some settings there. There's also clip color coding. You can color particular clips as you see fit. Again, the default would be tracks and MIDI channels. You can choose to have your clips completely be devoid of color, and when I select that, for example, clips are now black and white. Some people like that. It's completely up to you. I think it looks a little nasty myself, but you know, to each his own. The default for this is tracks and MIDI channels. So anyway, there is your little spiel on colors. You can also take a look at these color bars. These can be hidden if you so choose, and on page 174 it talks about that. If you go up to the View menu and you go into Mix or Edit Window Views, you will see that there is a track color selection. And in the Mix view, for example, I can completely turn off colors, so I don't see the color bars anymore. And if I go back up to the View menu, Mix Window Views, Track Color, I now see the track color at the top. So you can do that in both the Mix and Edit windows. Again, kind of a not so much of an important option as far as the functionality of the software goes, but just it's in your book, so we got to talk about it. Okay, so we're going to stop here with the first section, and like I said, I'm going to break this up into smaller sections here, just so we can have the ability to upload it to the web page on YouTube with minimal problems. And we're going to move on to clip looping next.